So I know a lot of folks have been asking for this video ever since I did the hitch evaluation video, specifically the suspension hitch evaluation video. And I did not feature a product from this company right here, AirSafe. So a lot of folks said, you know what? You really need to talk to them, see if they can send you a sample of their product so you can really put this up against some of the other hitches that you tested. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. 115 pounds worth of suspension hitch is inside of this box. So we have the tractor in place. We're gonna offload this thing, open it up, and see what it's all about. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so just in case you didn't hear me over the sound of the tractor, inside of this box is an AirSafe suspension hitch, weighing 115 pounds, or at least that's the weight of the entire box. Now the crate was actually already in my shop, so the crate didn't come with it, but the box itself, as it sits, 115 pounds, which makes this arguably the heaviest hitch that I've tested outside of some weight distribution hitches. So this thing is pretty cool. Before I unbox it, let me just explain some backstory to this. So as most folks who follow my channel know, I recently did an evaluation comparison video between several hitches from 4 different manufacturers. And those were the Shocker HD hitch, the Gen Y Boss, the 21,000 pound rated Gen Y Boss. We still have the 16,000 pound rated one in the back of the shop over here, as well as the CURT Rebellion XD and the bulletproof hitch with their road suppression I guess hitch ball adapter you can put on the front of it that has rubber suspension characteristics built into it. And when I did that video, a lot of folks said, well, to be fair, you really need to test this one right here from the folks over at AirSafe. And I didn't include them because I didn't have any way of including them originally other than reaching directly out to them. All the other hitches are provided through my official channel sponsor, eTrailer.com, and they do not carry the AirSafe product. But I think I've mentioned this at least 1,000 times before. I have no issue comparing products that they don't carry, just so you guys get an honest, credible evaluation of other products that perhaps exist out in the marketplace as well. I've brought this up many different times, including when I do like the RV lock, door lock replacement, which I think is a fantastic product, and it's a better product than what I think eTrailer carries. That said, though, I'm always here to present you with the most credible, honest reviews of products that I feature on the channel. And that's the reason why I reached out to the folks over at AirSafe and I said, hey, could you send me a sample of one of your hitches so I could evaluate it and see how well it performs in comparison to the other hitches that I've tested? And they said, absolutely. They asked me a few questions, such as some measurements, as well as the shank size opening on the receiver of my truck, which I told them was 3 inches. So let's get this thing unboxed and let's see what it's all about. Okay, so with great effort, we have this hitch unboxed. This is a Class 7 hitch that they sent. What does that mean? That means this thing is super heavy duty. It has a 2,500 pound tongue weight capacity and a 25,000 pound gross trailer weight capacity, which means this is going to be, it's actually going to exceed the capacities of the Gen Y from a trailer weight perspective, and it's going to exceed all of the other ones except for the bulletproof. So this is a pretty insanely built product right here, because I've had a chance to kind of look over it, and I'm telling you that nothing on this product is light duty. It's crazy. Let's talk about some of that stuff. First of all, this right here is what you attach to here, and this is what holds the ball. Now, they did not include a ball, but thankfully I have one. It's not rated to what this thing is ultimately rated for, but this ball right here is a CURT ball that I have that's rated to 15,000 pounds. So for our testing purposes, it will be perfectly fine because we're not going to go over that. That said, this is a pretty insane setup. First of all, and if my math serves me correctly, this right here looks like it's almost 3/4 inch thick plate steel. But you know what? Why guess? I have my digital caliper right here. Let's go ahead and see what thickness this is. So check that out. This is 3/4 inch thick plate steel. This looks like 1/2 inch thick. 1/2 inch thick steel. So when you want to see a hitch that is absolutely insanely built, that's what this is. It's crazy heavy because of that, though. 115 pounds worth of hitch, minus maybe a couple pounds for the box. So again, 3/4 inch thick plate steel, 1/2 inch thick plate steel. Has some beautiful welds all the way around. The welds look fantastic. Then when we flip this up, also 3/4 inch plate steel, This right here is absolutely insane. As we look at the body of it here, that looks like 1/4 inch thick. A lot of 1/4 inch thick steel on this for the main structure, which houses the airbag assembly, which is right here. So you have the airbag right here. You have your Schrader valve up top to inflate it. And there are some very detailed instructions that they provided me on how to set this up properly for our towing test that we're going to be doing. Here are the bolts that attach the hitch head plate to the back side of the hitch right here, and these are already threaded for you, so that's a good thing whenever we look at the torque specifications and whenever we figure out exactly how high or low we have to set this on here. We'll go ahead and tighten all that down. This video is mainly to give you an overview of what this product looks like. Looks like you have 2 shock absorbers mounted on the outside as well. Looks like all the hardware is grade 8 hardware also. So now on the sides, it looks like you have what appears to be a multi-link setup to essentially make sure that your movement is vertical movement up and down, and you don't have any type of a rocking effect. So the shocker hitch as well as the CURT both rely on a single pivot point, which essentially makes the hitch essentially rock. On this one, because you have these multi-link connections here, it allows the hitch to move in a very linear motion, very similar to the Gen Y setup. So if I had to look at this and compare this to any of the others from a movement perspective, it seems as if it's going to emulate more of what the Gen Y hitch does than any of the others, except the fact that this utilizes an airbag in it versus torsion suspension. So this is pretty cool. Has a solid steel shank on the back here, so that is a 3-inch shank. That probably makes up a large part of the weight of this thing, because I believe it goes, all the way through. This is a insanely heavy-duty setup here. Again, if we compare this to some of the others, we have the 3-inch shank version of the shocker, which is actually a hollow tube. I believe it's 1/4 inch thick sidewall material there. The B&W hitch has a solid shank, and the bulletproof hitch, which we have in the 2.5 inch shank, but they also make a 3-inch shank version, also has a solid shank back here. And this definitely is going to stick out further than any of the other products. The one they sent me looks like it's one of their in-house versions, basically for testing or lending or whatever they use this for, but you can actually see where the receiver is right here, the end of the receiver, which means from here to here, plus this is going to stick out off of the end, which probably bring it out to this far. So let me take a couple measurements real quick before I make that assumption, because I know the Gen Y Boss is probably going to be pretty close, but let's take some measurements. Okay, so I'm here next to the Gen Y Boss. I can also see the line right here where the hitch went into the receiver. We are 15 inches to the end of the ball on the 21,000 pound rated version, and on the 16,000 pound rated version, we're 14 inches. So the lighter duty version is a hair shorter overall, but only by 1 inch. Let's go check out the AirSafe. Okay, so I've attached the plate up here just so I can take a measurement, and from the same wear mark right there, we are just a hair over 15 inches, about 15.5 inches. So there's not really any huge difference between the two when it comes to how far they stick off the back of your vehicle. This certainly is significantly wider, because if you look at it from an overall width perspective, this is probably 2 to maybe even 3 times wider than the Gen Y Boss. The Gen Y Boss probably takes up about that much width. So yeah, this is about 3 times wider than the Gen Y Boss, and it's certainly going to get people talking about it. Now, if you have this behind your truck and you don't see it, if you're walking behind your truck and you hit your knee into this thing, that's probably all on you, because this thing is so obvious because of its size and shape that it would be at the back of your vehicle. I don't really think you could blame anybody if you hit your leg on something like this. Okay, so we have the scale set up here. Everything's dialed in and reset to 0. Let's go ahead and take this plate off. We're going to see just how heavy this AirSafe is with both components separate from it. This thing will probably rock back the minute I take this off. Yeah, like I said, this thing is crazy heavy. Okay, so just the hitch plate on here, which again, 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1/2 inch steel plate. See how much this thing weighs. Yeah, this thing is ridiculous, and it's super slick, so it makes it even a little bit more difficult to handle. So we are at 25 pounds 6 ounces for just this one piece right here. Let's kind of put that into perspective. That means This right here weighs as much, if not more, than many complete drop hitches that you may get for a vehicle. That's pretty crazy. It weighs more than a B&W tow and stow hitch, like the entire weight of one, in just the hitch head of this. Again, look at the material. It's all due to how thick that material is. So 25 pounds of the 115 pounds is just the ball mount. Now, I kind of wonder, and they could probably answer this question for me, is if we went to a lower class version of this, how much lighter this piece would be. Basically, how much weight would you reduce by going to one that doesn't have to carry this much possible weight? All right, so let's move this over here. Use my little DJI battery box because I don't have any power to this one specific spot in the shop that I'm at. All right, so we're gonna slide this underneath here like that. We're reset to 0, and let's see how much this thing weighs. See if there's an easy way to do this without having to lift it up with one hand. I'm guessing about 85 pounds. 86 pounds, 11 ounces. So yeah, there's where all your weight comes from. Again, this is pretty dang heavy. 86 pounds, 13 ounces for the hitch body, airbag, shock absorbers, mount, all of that stuff, along with the 3-inch solid shank, which probably makes up a good amount of that weight, and roughly 25 pounds for the ball head assembly. That is where your weight comes from, and that is a significant amount of weight for a hitch. So very, very cool. We are going to definitely be doing evaluations with this. We're going to put this on the truck. We're going to hitch up to it with probably about 1,700-ish pounds worth of weight, maybe a little bit less. What I'm going to probably do this next go-around, because I realized that when I was evaluating the ultra heavy-duty versions of the hitches at 2,000 pounds of tongue weight, that much weight actually made it difficult for some of the shock absorbing characteristics to truly offer you the benefit that you might have been looking for. When you get something like this, oftentimes you might have like an Airstream, you might have a travel trailer, something that you really, really want to mitigate the amount of shock vibration that transfers from the vehicle to the trailer or the trailer to the vehicle. And I believe from what I've seen, in most cases, people are usually going to be at about 1,200 to maybe 1,700 pounds worth of total tongue weight resting on the hitch. So that's probably what we're going to try to get to. Probably 1,500 pounds, I think, would be a good area to be able to test them and see how well they function. And it's not just going to be my opinion on how they function. I'll also have some testing equipment that'll give us the shock, show us the G-forces. It'll have an accelerometer built into it so we can actually see how well they perform. Anyways, big shout out to the folks over at AirSafe for providing me one of these units to be able to do this evaluation with and to give you my first and really the only impression I've ever given on the AirSafe product. What I can tell you is it is crazy heavy. It is super well built. It seems as if it is designed incredibly well and engineered incredibly well, and I'm very, very interested in seeing how this performs. The one thing that I would definitely tell you, though, is this is not a hitch you're going to want to constantly be putting on or removing because it is incredibly heavy. I mean, it is very, very heavy for someone to try to manage. I would definitely recommend 2 people to get this put in the back of your truck, because you just don't want to find yourself in a situation where you end up hurting your back or injuring yourself just trying to put the hitch in the back of your vehicle so you can go RVing. And you know, probably my least favorite part setting something up like this when they don't send you a hitch ball that's already been pre-torqued in place is getting at the big breaker bar and torque bar and getting this thing at least snug so I can get a torque wrench on it and try to get it to where they want it to be. Typically, and I have to read the instructions on this that they emailed me, but typically it's usually around 350 pound-feet of torque. So we'll see where we need to be and we'll get it there, but definitely wanted to make sure we do it right. Anyways, guys, sure hope you enjoyed this video. Again, really cool opportunity to test out a product, review a product, evaluate, and finally get eyes on a product that I've never actually reviewed or seen in person for that matter, and let you guys know what my opinion is of it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up so you can see the next video that we do on this hitch where we're actually taking it for an evaluation drive with some tongue weight on it to see how it performs. Guys, we'll talk to you again very soon.